The highly anticipated Art Online Fractured Daydream received a new developer interview via Dengeki Online. The interview mainly expands on the previous closed beta feedback, but has a lot of burning questions too that wasn't addressed back there, like if there'll be another beta period in the future, or whether the game will have loot boxes or not. There's a lot of ground to cover in this video and a variety of different topics, so use the chapters feature on your screen or in the description of this video to jump to topics you are more interested in. Welcome SAO survivors, it's me Gamerturk, and let's dive right in. Mogami P, the producer for Art Online Fractured Daydream, and Goto Shuichi, the director for Fractured Daydream, as well as the previous Fatal Bullet, were present to answer the questions from Dengeki. And at some points, I really could not help but feel they actually watched my review. Some of these mentions are too specific to be coincidental. Thank you, Lisa at Bandai Namco Germany, if that's the case. But first question was about the lock-on release function, where the target lock of enemies would be released upon sudden and big moves from them, about whether there'll be a way to toggle on and off the auto-release function of the target, and the answer was a clear no by Mogami P. The feature is specifically intended to prevent the camera from going crazy for things like the Skull Reaper jumping out of the map between phases and the like, which is a reasonable measure in my opinion. Next up, we got more insight on the goddess statues that will allow you to replenish your healing crystals without having to back out or die. These statues were mainly intended for the online free quest mode, which was not there in the beta for us to experience. In this mode, you can basically just go into this online instance all on your own and meet new players while questing by yourself in a chill environment. It was effectively a protection measure for solo players to replenish their healing crystals without either having to re-instance or just die and respawn, as they potentially had nobody else to rely on in the solo queue mode. However, based on the beta, they decided to add it to co-op quests as well, where you go into a dedicated quest run with 3 other party members with a total of 5 parties. In this interview, they have clarified that the statue is only being added to the low difficulty co-op quest though. They will be expecting you or your party to be relatively self-sufficient in mid and high difficulty content, so do keep that in mind. Next up, a clarification on the increased attack power of fighter and rogue type characters regarding how much they are being buffed. While the buffs vary on an individual character level, on average, the fighter class received about a 10% buff, whereas the rogue class received a slightly higher one than fighters due to being a more burst attack oriented option, whereas fighters are a bit more of a sustained attacker role. Additionally, the buff for melee characters were higher than ranged characters to accommodate the additional risk they take by getting close and personal, but they also mentioned they will be looking at feedback and making adjustments accordingly in the future as well, which really sounds like live service lingo here, which I am happy about. As I say, whenever I talk about Fractured Daydream, it really feels like a good live service opportunity, and I am glad to hear they sound up to the task here. Next up, controller schemes. Sadly, they have only reiterated their commitment to control presets rather than freely being able to map the actions, which is a shame in my opinion. I pray that they reconsider once more. It's 2024, I believe the technology exists to be able to freely choose our keybinds, whether we're on PC or on consoles. Next question was about the potential of another beta test period, may be interesting for you who didn't get chosen or just missed out on it. Mogami P mentioned that they are considering the possibility of another opportunity in some form, however he did not clarify anything, so from what I'm interpreting from their words, they are either looking for another closed beta for people who did apply but were not chosen in the first round, or an open beta where everyone can just participate freely. So stay tuned and follow me on @Gamerturk95 on Twitter, or rather X right now, for the latest news on anything SAO. Next up was the accessory topic that was mentioned in the dev update. The interviewer asked whether it meant we'd be able to swap accessories during quests, but the answer clarifying what they meant was exactly what I theorized back in the developer update video. Click the icon on the top right to watch that one, by the way. It has a lot more information that's not covered here. They basically just added a remove accessory option to the equipment screen because, well, you could change accessories. They actually did not have a removal option. Your only choice was swapping an accessory with another one if you ever equipped one on your character. They also made passive skills to be removable as well. Surely it's an extreme edge case where you'd want to remove your beneficial bonuses, but perhaps you want to remove that minus 90% HP accessory from Oberon so you don't constantly die in a single attack and you have no other accessories to swap to. That just did not feel good, you know what I mean. So thank you very much for the option, developers. They also made the remove decorations process more visible to the players because apparently players had issues removing their cosmetic items in the beta. And most importantly, I can't believe they mentioned it in passing as if it's not a biggie. That was such a huge pain point I mentioned back in my closed beta ultimate review with the suggested fix. They added the boss's weaknesses on the quest selection screen so you can actually prepare accordingly and don't need to memorize what the boss is weak to. Additionally, I would really like to see a quest details screen where all the enemies are listed with their weaknesses. I think this will be beneficial for the overall composition of a party greatly. For example, 3 of my party members want to spec for the boss, but I want to spec for certain troublesome enemies that are featured earlier in the quest. I think that's an important addition to have. Next up, a little clarification on the tower activation quest balancing. Apparently the activation bar does indeed feel faster when multiple people interact with it, but it was not quite noticeable. So, especially for parties with less human players, the bar will now feel faster if a low number of players are interacting with the terminals. Next up, improving some hard to see effects. Based on the beta, players had numerous issues with visibility of certain things on their screen. For example, just timed actions such as perfect dodge and the like were not particularly noticeable when pulled off, so they made the effects for those a little bit more prominent. The healing droplet and the HP quartz look too similar. They were both small, shiny green, making them hard to distinguish. So their sizes and colors are being reconsidered for a change to make them look unique. Also, in terms of battle effects, they have shown the effects toggle in the gameplay settings menu where you can adjust the visibility of effects to reduce the clutter on your screen. The default is the show all effects option, but if it makes it hard to see things, you can switch to simplified display or show only my own effects, which should disable all the additional effects from other players, keeping your screen relatively clean. Next up, oh my god, I truly feel like they have watched my review, like there's other stuff I talked about, but the connection is more on general terms there. It could be a coincidence, but this, it's literally the specific example I have mentioned in my review. Once again, thank you, Lisa at Bandai Namco Germany, if that's the case. They are adjusting the perk pools of the items. One of my main complaints in my review was that there were way too many dead perks on weapons and items for specific characters. For example, I had received a super rare item for Shinon, but the strongest perk on it was a huge melee damage buff. For Shinon, who uses a sniper and SMG featuring no melee damage option at all. That was the exact example I gave in my review, and that is the exact example they are given in this developer interview. That melee attack increase perk will not be appearing on Ranger class items. The change, of course, is a more holistic one, so not limited to Ranger items, but just the example they gave. It's the exact same one as the one I gave. They are also evaluating some of the existing legendary tier perks to make sure they will actually be worthy of being legendary. There will also be a synthesis feature that will allow the transfer of perks from one item into another. Fatal Bullet players will likely recognize it from that game too. It's a very welcome addition. However, as I said back in my review, I hope the option to enhance the perks is going to be there too, same as Fatal Bullet. Next up, they talked a bit about players who felt uncomfortable directly jumping into online and wanted a training mode of sorts to practice and get used to different characters. Mogami P mentioned that both the story mode that is offline and the free quests mode, which is online but solo, are perfect opportunities to practice characters on your own. Naturally, both of these were not featured in the beta, so people didn't get to experience them, so understandable that online shy players were a bit cautious on the topic. Mogami P also mentioned that there would be specific tutorial instances for new types of characters like the flying characters such as Leaf and Oberon, and for shooting characters such as Len, Fukajiro and Shinon to help players familiarize themselves with characters and their unique styles. Next up, a bit of a big topic here. I have been curious about this since the initial announcement of the game. As I keep saying, this game looks like an incredibly well designed live service, and especially to fill 20-player lobbies for the maximum amount of fun, it needs a large player base, which can easily be achieved by being free to play. However, Free-to-play nowadays comes with the side effect of having gacha or other monetization methods. I have also been saying that I would be fine with a cosmetic gacha, but not a characters gacha, whereas I'd prefer systems like battle passes that do not expire and allow switching between different passes whenever I feel like it until their completion, or simple and honest character shops, like League of Legends as an example, since I'm playing that one quite often these days, that allow purchasing of additional characters, but you can also use in-game currency to unlock rosters, etc. So in the interview, they really did not go into specifics, but Mogami P completely ruled out loot box style monetization, which is amazing news. Thank you very much. He was also surprised. He mentioned that they were not trying to be secretive about their business plans per se, they just didn't anticipate that to be a point of feedback on that side. Also, I'm sorry if this was because of me constantly asking whether the game is free to play or not, along with talking about what I ideally would want, as I mentioned above. I'm just very excited about Fractured Daydream and I just want to know more how this game functions. But Mogami P, it has also come to my attention that you have not said anything about the free to play aspect. I understand not delving deeper into the monetization plans in an interview like this, be it a character shop or a battle pass. Too much detail for now, I agree. But I still hold my position on the opinion that having Fractured Daydream as a free-to-play game would be incredibly beneficial for the health of the game and player lobbies. No barrier of entry for players means drastically more players will be able to easily engage with your game, fill the online lobbies, which is of utmost importance for a live service game like this, and also have more eyes on whatever the monetization plans are for the game. And again, a better gameplay experience means more interest from fans to support the game. Fractured Daydream has huge potential here and I am looking forward to it. Now let's make it a place where all fans can come together and have a great experience for a long time to come. And last but not least, final messages from the developers. Gotoro-san mentioned that it was quite the technical challenge to overcome when Bandai Namco Entertainment first approached them with a large-scale co-op Art Online game idea. They set up the dedicated servers, conducted technical verification for large-scale multiplayer gameplay, and finally started the actual development on Fractured Daydream, and that journey is coming to completion soon and it feels very fulfilled to see the game approach its final stages. Meanwhile, Mogami P mentioned that their master version is close to being complete. He apologized if it seemed like it was taking a while since the closed beta, but it's all necessary to incorporate all the feedback from the beta into the final version. He apologizes for the wait and thanks you for your understanding, and he also mentions that they will continue to share more information until release and hopes you look forward to it all. And well, I for one am very much looking forward to it all. As I mentioned earlier, Fractured Daydream beta felt like the ultimate co-op Art Online experience. In my opinion, it is the perfect SAO game barring an actual MMORPG, and the beta experience, it was incredibly fun to the extent that I was surprised I spent so much time in the beta with my friends. Let's hope we'll carry that excitement and thrill into the full product. Thank you very much to the entire team, and I look forward to hearing more about the game and being able to play it again. Thank you very much to you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, stay cool.